Hi, Get Unstuck Nation. So today I have a very special guest today that I'm very excited to talk about. Please welcome Ellen Albertson right here from Midlife Whisperer. So Ellen is a psychologist, also registered dietitian. She has an amazing more than 25 years of background of her life work right here. What we are going to cover is that she have helped many entrepreneurs and bringing the life that they really want to improve and making their best chapter, like the next chapter, the best chapter of their life. So today we're going to discover how you come back to self-compassion, knowing yourself again, bring out your energy and move forward with what you really want to know, and also what is really who you really are. So please welcome Ellen today. And yeah, let's talk about it. So thank you so much for joining Get Unstuck Radio today, Ellen.
Thank you, Mutita. It is so exciting to be here and to be sharing with your audience. Thank you all for being here today. And we're going to share some big nuggets of wisdom. So I encourage you to sit back, grab a pen and paper because you're going to want to get this all down.
Yeah. So before we get into your knowledge though, but how you get into this journey, why you enter to the wellness journey?
Yeah. Well, first, in the entrepreneurship too. So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My dad's an entrepreneur. Both my grandparents, all four grandparents were all entrepreneurs. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12. I had a candle making business when I was a little kid. And I just love entrepreneurship. And I think, it really dovetails with the wellness, because when you're an entrepreneur, when you can deal with your workaholism, you don't want to be the problem with being an entrepreneur is you can work all the time because there's always more you can do and you're passionate about your business. But on the flip side, being an entrepreneur actually gives you the ability to create a lifestyle that you love so that you can take that walk at 2:00 in the afternoon with your dog if you want to. You can take that, get good sleep at night, deal with your stress, and you've got to find that work-life balance, which is a real challenge. Now, I got into the wellness sphere. I've always been interested in wellness. My mom was very interested in nutrition. My grandmother was interested in nutrition. So I kind of come from this line of people who are really interested in health, well-being. My parents have always been super healthy. They're 91 and 92 right now, and they're still rocking it. I first became a registered dietitian 30 years ago because I really wanted to help people transform their bodies, the way that their health, their well-being. And that started me on a long path of not only learning the best foods to eat, the best way to move your body. I also became a personal fitness trainer, but then later on becoming a coach and then a psychologist, because I wanted to be able to have the tools to help people make the changes. Most of my clients, some of whom are entrepreneurs, we all know what we should be doing, right? We know we should be eating more fruits and vegetables. We should be eating a whole food, plant-based diet, moving our bodies every single day, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night, dealing with stress. We know all the things, but we're not doing them. And so for me, it's been this journey of both continually growing my knowledge about health and wellness, and the things coming down the line are so powerful. Even now we're seeing more woo, more meditation, right? More modalities like Reiki. I'm also a Reiki master. More information about the microbiome and the importance of nutrition for feeling good, looking good, your mental health. And then, as a psychologist and a coach, I've really learned how to get people to make those changes, because so often we want to do all of these things and we wonder, why am I not, eating right, getting sleep, taking care of my body? And so my work has been so much informed by learning to love ourselves to health, not doing it because I hate my body and I need to lose weight, but because I love my body and I want to feel good and live a long, beautiful life. So I've been working with midlife women since I started my career. Before I was at midlife, those were just the people who were attracted to the work that I was doing. And they were the people that I really loved to help, because I think that midlife is this juncture where we have this opportunity to transform our bodies. If we have been not paying attention to our health and well-being, our body's like, hello, things start to happen as the hormones shift. I mean, at any point in our life, we can make these changes, but I find midlife is really a transitional period of time, kind of like we think about puberty, right? Where we're getting all those hormone changes. We're having to have change our relationship with our bodies. Midlife is kind of that period as well. So I just love working with midlife women. Also just love working with entrepreneurs because I understand how stressful it can be and how exciting it can be and how easy it is to sit in front of your computer all day and ignore your body, and how important it is to take time for yourself, and how recharging your batteries can actually make you more effective, more successful entrepreneur.
I noticed something. It just come across from my mind. Women, for example, we have to come across this hormonal journey every single month, right? Along with the menstrual time, like, and it's so hard to control. Like, you can see my breakout over here. Like, it's so crazy. And especially, like, I'm in the 30s right now. I'm about to go to the midlife. And I know, like, I'm seeing my mom. She's just like next room over here. Like, she keep complaining in the past 10 years that I see her, like, from starting wearing glasses and the hormone like getting down and so on. Like, what you suggest to, like, from my age going forward to prepare ourselves of the energy balance?
Oh, that's such a great question. Well, I think it's great to start as early as possible, right? Because the better you take care of your body, the better you're going to sail through challenges, whether that's, monthly you sounds like you're having PMS, moving through menopause. So the key things really are diet, movement, stress relief, and sleep. So in terms of diet, the best diet really is a whole food plant-based diet. And that doesn't mean that you need to become a vegan, but you can. What you want to be doing is eating more plants. So more fruits, more vegetables, less processed and refined foods. So I say to people, eat more plants, don't eat anything your grandmother would have eaten. So all of those things with all of the additives, the things that come in packages with names we can't pronounce, all of those additives, what happens is those kinds of foods create something called inflammation. Inflammation is really at the heart of all of our dis-ease, all of our imbalance. And when we eat lots of processed food, lots of refined carbohydrates, those things we kind of often crave them. The food industry is really good at creating foods that are high in sugar, fat, and salt. We want those foods. They have a lot of they're tasty. We have to retrain our taste buds to enjoy those natural foods. When we eat those foods, it really triggers inflammation and all of the pain that we're experiencing, the disbalance that might show up as breakouts or, feeling stressed out, weight gain. All of those things are related back to that inflammation. Conversely, that whole food plant-based diet, all of those plant foods are filled with what's called phytochemicals, plant chemicals that can actually help to reduce the inflammation. And what happens is during menopause, when estrogen goes down, so that's that main female hormone, estrogen goes down, inflammation goes up. And so we need to eat more of those anti-inflammatory foods, less of the processed foods. Now, movement, super important. Movement, if we could put, exercise into a pill, boy, would somebody make a lot of money as an entrepreneur. We can't, but the good news is that movement is something we can all do. What movement does is it helps reduce that stress. It helps you with things like, the emotional eating when we're like longing to have that threesome with Ben and Jerry's, right? Because we're feeling stressed out. It helps you with sleep. It helps with, creating more muscle mass and better bone density. These things that we can do throughout our life cycle to increase our overall well-being. So movement is super important. Something I tell all my entrepreneurial clients, get a standing desk. I have a standing desk. So I sit and stand. All right, good for you. Do you use it?
Yeah, I do.
Good. So it's not just about moving and doing that 30 minutes or so at least a day, but it's also moving throughout your day. You'll have more energy. I have a lot of clients too who get those walking desks. So it's like a treadmill desk, right? That you can do that as well, which is awesome. So you can move your body throughout the day. You'll have more energy. Your mind will be more focused. Movement also really helps our mind, as does that whole food plant-based diet also helps your mood. It helps your mind. We're understanding that it builds what's called your microbiome, which are the trillions of cells that live inside of you but aren't your own body's cells. It builds a healthier microbiome. So movement's super important, but not just, again, that 30 minutes, but you want to make sure you are getting the aerobic activity. You are doing some strength training to keep that muscle mass up. Since we lose our muscle mass throughout every decade of our life. Then you got to manage the stress. I mean, a little bit of stress is good. As entrepreneurs, we need a little stress. We need to know I'm doing this podcast today. I've got this report due. I'm reaching out to these clients. These are the things I'm doing. But too much stress, again, is going to put you into that inflammatory state. Your body is going to generate cortisol, which is the hormone of fight and flight. You want to keep that under control. So you have to learn how to manage your stress. And there's a million ways to do it. We talked about, movement, yoga, meditation, journaling, listening to music, playing with your pets, doing more of those things that you love. Got to get that balance. It's so tempting as an entrepreneur to work all the time. And I know I've been there, I've done that. It's going to lead to burnout. You don't want that to happen. You've got to find productive ways to manage your stress. And then the last piece is sleep. Sleep is so important. Sleep is when your body heals. It does that repair work. It resets those appetite hormones. It resets, the bone, the muscle, all that stuff grows and heals. So you want to make sure that you're getting 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every single night. And so that's really about turning off those screens, creating a bedtime ritual where, you're not on a screen and at least an hour before you go to bed. Getting a ritual. So doing, again, the meditation or listening to music or taking a hot bath or shower, doing something that is relaxing, maybe reading a little bit, making sure your room. So getting back to sleep. So you want to make sure that you've got a ritual that you are doing every night, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, preferably with, the rhythm of the earth. So when the sun is setting, you're getting ready for bed, rising with the sunrise, making sure that your room is cool, dark, and quiet, really watching the caffeine, not having any caffeine afternoon time, making sure not to have alcohol. Alcohol can really interfere with that deep REM sleep. And sleep is just so incredibly important for your well-being. So those are, the 4 areas that I recommend people work on, whether you're, trying to create this life balance in your 30s or going through the hormonal changes that accompany menopause.
I have 2 questions from what you're saying. One is about in case someone like at my age, right? Like when I'm in the 20s, usually at the 20s, they are like all in. They're not gonna care about how they're gonna feel. They just like go get it, like they don't care about how they feel, like as in health even. They just like go get it because they just like the college and just like want to chase the dream. Like at the 20s, usually that's the time, like you have the highest energy and you should spend that, like that's like normal people feel. So when the energy is starting to slow down and the health cannot catch up, how they starting to reset the health button again. So that is first question. Second one though, if they can already start doing so, then what's next for them?
Those are great questions. And I remember that time in my 20s, right? Like going. You got to flip the equation, Mutita, and those of you who are listening. You want to focus on feeling good and having your business be centered around feeling good, thinking to yourself, what is going to make me get up in the morning? This is this concept called ikigai, right? This concept of my purpose. What's going to help me feel good? And focus on feeling good and having your business be part of feeling good. Am I doing this because I am creating value in the world and serving people, making the world a better place? When you really lean into that feeling good, that's when you start to manifest like crazy. I think we miss this manifestation piece where we think that I got to do it all on my own. And we forget that we are part of this loving universe that wants us to succeed and that wants us to be part of creating a world that is a better place. When we think about it in terms of who am I? What am I here to do? What is my passion? What is my purpose? And how do I feel good doing that? So starting with the equation of this, flipping it and saying, instead of I'm going to work as hard as I can and I'm going to like get on this treadmill, of like, no, I'm going to focus on feeling good. When we feel good, we create more good in the world. And so I don't know if that answers the second part of your question of just sitting back and asking yourself, what's going to bring me joy today? What is going to help me to feel my best? How am I taking care of my body, my mind? Where's my mindset at? I'm in this fear of lack. If I don't do a million posts and get a million people following me on TikTok today, that my business is going to implode and I'm on this fear treadmill or I'm on this love and joy treadmill where I just have faith that the universe is here for me and that, my business is connected with my life purpose. And that part of that is to feel as good as I can. So that energy is really going to magnetize and attract my ideal client to my services and to my goods, instead of the sense that I have to it's like, I don't know if you know the Prometheus, that myth of Prometheus, who's like pushing the boulder up the hill. I remember that, like pushing the boulder up the hill, and eventually the boulder is going to come back on you and flatten you. It's going to happen. You're going to hit that burnout place. But instead thinking about, okay, how do I make it joyful as I'm climbing this hill? And part of that is, really connecting with your core values. So your core values, what you stand for, it's something you should do, as your brand and your business and as your personal kind of life mission. When you know what you stand for, it's your GPS device. It will tell you, okay, which way to pivot, which direction to move in, thinking about like how that's going to connect with your ideal client. So knowing your core values is really helpful. Checking in with yourself throughout the day, noticing, how's my energy today? How am I feeling? Am I pushing that boulder up the hill that's about to fall back on me? Or am I, gliding up the hill and enjoying the view?
What about in case? No, not in case. I mean, for those of the viewers who are already in the 40s. So I just jumped that ahead. I have like two set of viewers. So those who are already in the 40s, who already like on the fence of leaving their corporate jobs, and they already started a side hustle, and they're already like, okay, whether I'm gonna do this full on or I'm gonna keep this too for the time being. And they already overworked. They already have a lot of commitment at hands. And of course, their health also all over the place. But this is not going to be only one person commitment to change the way that they're going to put their health first. What would you suggest?
Yeah. Well, you can't give from an empty cup. So it's really hard to do both. I mean, when I work with clients who are trying to create that side hustle, I usually don't recommend quitting your job. But I mean, I think, because then you have to start, you get the extra stress of worrying about the paycheck. So, I recommend, doing some financial planning, sitting down with financial planner, really looking at your books, seeing how long do I have to stay in this, corporate role before I can move to the next thing. Because it adds additional stress when you're trying to make your side hustle. But I find a lot of people are ready to make that leap, but they're really scared. And so really understanding that, at some point you have to step outside your comfort zone. You've got to, if you really have this side business that you really love, that's really starting to do well, and that you project it, being able to really be able to fulfill the income that you want, it's time to seriously think about, giving your notice, because you can't do both, right? We have a finite number of hours, a finite number of energy, and it's impossible to give everything to your corporate role, to your side hustle, to your personal life. So I think, the people I've worked with, generally they're really scared to take that leap. But once they do it, they just feel so much better, because all of a sudden it's like the universe abhors a vacuum. So when you quit that corporate position, all of a sudden you have all of this energy for your business. But really, you want to make sure that you're, do you have enough financially to sustain you for the next 6 months? You don't want to just quit and be like, I have to rely on my side hustle to support myself. You want to make sure that you have enough of that foundation to be able to do it. Maybe, if you do have a partner, talk to your partner, see how you're going to handle and do all of this. But I have to say, all of the entrepreneurs I've worked with, every single one is so happy that they made the leap, whether that leap means leaving a corporate job. And I have so many clients, they just want to be in tank tops and flip-flops, writing that book, doing that. A lot of people are, doing something like a multi-level marketing where they're getting the support, or, starting a speaking business, making sure you've got a foundation for that business. You've got a business plan for that business. You've got the support that you need and enough financial backing to get you through at least the first 6 months or so that you don't stress out about paying your rent and being able to, provide for your family.
How can they know that this is their calling? Like, this is the time that they should making decision to pivot?
Oh, that's a big question. You have to listen to your heart. You have to tune in and just, get out of your head, because the intellect can sort of, your brain wants you to stay safe. So your brain's going to be like, don't give up that steady paycheck, that pension, all of those things. Then you have to really listen to your heart. Again, aligning with those core values and seeing, okay, is this thing I want to be doing, is this in alignment with my core values? Is it the right move for me? Following a path of heart is really about courage. The root of the word courage is core, which is French for heart. So tuning into your heart and saying, you know what, is this the right time for me to be doing this? Is this what my calling really is? And then, praying for support too, and just sort of asking, the universe, like, give me a sign, show me that this is the thing to do. And really, and then so many of us don't ask, right? We need to ask. We need to ask, like, okay, this is the thing that is truly in alignment with who I am. I also recommend, think back to when you were a kid. What was the first thing you wanted to be and do when you were a child, or when you looked at adults and you said, when I grow up, that's what I want to do? I know for me, when I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be a writer. It's a big piece of the work that I do. I just knew that. Like, how did I know what being an author would be at 5? But look back to that. Certainly getting some coaching, getting someone else's opinion, getting some mentoring, joining mentoring groups, listening to podcasts like yours. I mean, you have to be able to tune into your own genius and thinking about, what is my bliss? Maybe thinking back, when I'm 80 years old and I look back to this moment, what do I want my life to have stood for? Do a little bit of soul connection. When you get to the end of your life, are you going to be happy that you went for that dream? Or are you going to be, unhappy if you put it on hold and you got to a place in your life where it's too late? It's almost never too late, but you get to a point at some point where it's like, okay, it's too late to do that thing. And, also there's lots of ways that you can just kind of put it out there and test the waters, create something, show it to your friends, show it to your ideal clients, get it in front of people and get some opinions, do some testing, do some marketing and see what sticks and just really what makes you feel joyful in life. It's all going back to what I said earlier about doing more of what makes you feel good and lights you up. If it's lighting you up, if it's bringing you joy, you're going to connect with your audience and really feel excited about what you're doing.
How can you, wait, I just come up with this question and I forgot. All right. Have you ever made a wrong decision ever?
Of course. I mean, you're going to make a wrong decision. I mean, and that's part of what I teach is something called self-compassion. One of the elements of self-compassion is common humanity. We all fail. We all make mistakes. We are imperfect beings. Mistakes are how you learn and grow. If you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're stepping outside your comfort zone, you're not going to get it right away. And so we need to reframe mistakes and looking at mistakes as stepping stones on the road to success. The more mistakes you make, the more you're learning, the more you're growing, the more you're going to figure out what's right for you. But the point is, when you make a mistake, don't be like, oh my God, I was so stupid. I can't believe I did that thing. But like, okay, poor baby, you made a mistake. How did you learn? How did you grow? And how do you prevent that from happening again?
For me personally, I can say that I suffered for a while regarding to self-blame. Like, I blame myself so hard when like the result of the way that I make that bad decision, and it cost for years. For example, I couldn't come home for a year regarding to something that I made, and it was COVID and there is no flight to fly back home, something like that. Like, and there are consequences afterward that I couldn't control, and I was a control freak back in the days. So I'm kind of better now, but still I'm working on it. So how would you suggest? Like, I'm working on it for real. But yeah, this is not good. But I'm talking about these control things like almost every episode, but I'm still working on it.
Yeah, well, I think it's great to remember the serenity prayer, which is about, God grant me the ability to know what I have control over, what I don't, and and know the difference between the two. So understanding, what do I really have control over on my life on a regular basis, and we really have. That's part of that is taking responsibility. for the things that I am, for my own personal happiness and well-being. That's really what we have control, a large amount of control over. And the other big piece, Mutita, and for those of you listening, is treat yourself the way you would a good friend. If you had a friend who made that mistake, what would you say to her? You wouldn't be like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. I can't believe you did that. You need to stay away from home for a year and not see anyone and beat yourself up about it. And of course you wouldn't. You would say, I love you. I care about you. I'm sorry you made a mistake, but I still love you. I still care about you. And how can I support you? So when something is like, ouch, this really hurts, instead of like the Buddha talks about, kind of the double arrow, right? You do something wrong and then you shoot yourself on the foot on top of it because you did something wrong. But instead, like, don't do that second arrow. Don't beat yourself up because something went wrong. Instead, you apply this compress of self-compassion where you think, gosh, if I had a friend who was going through this, what would I say to her? What would I do? What would my tone of voice be? So it's essentially treating yourself the way that you would a good friend. And it's self-compassion is so powerful because it's both a life vest and a parachute. So it's a parachute when we want to step outside our comfort zone, when we want to be like, okay, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice. I'm quitting my corporate job. I'm going for it. I know that if I fail, I can, have got this parachute to be supportive towards myself when things go wrong, because they're going to go wrong. They absolutely are. We live in a world that chaos is part of what happens. And then the other piece is that life vest. So when, I know yourself, you had a health issue, right? I had a health issue too. I got cancer last year. And so it's this life vest of like, oh my gosh, I'm going through cancer right now. How can I be there for myself every day, every moment, and treat myself like a good friend when I'm going through surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, more surgery because I have a genetic mutation, stay alive, instead of saying, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Poor, pitiful me. It's like, no, sometimes life sucks and life throws you lots of curveballs, but to understand that you have this ability to be there for yourself, and also to understand that everything is really happening for your highest good. Like my cancer diagnosis was so difficult for me, but I grew and learned so much more. And I'm such a happier person on the other side of it than I was before. It's changed my life. It's changed my health. It's changed my business. But looking at it through this lens of both self-compassion, of how can I love myself through this, and also this lens of this was a change that really helped me to grow and become wiser and to become a better human.
Oh, wow. That sentence. How can you, when you change the lens that you look at it, how can you love yourself with that lens? Like that's it. Like that's all I did for me. Yeah. Well, that's so powerful. Yeah, indeed. Like it depends really like how you look at things that happens to you, and it's already changed the way that you perceive things, especially how you mirror yourself already every single day.
Yeah, it's mindset, right? So we can, we have stories, and our stories are powerful, and we can look at our story and say, oh my God, I failed, I messed up. I mean, I failed so many times. I've had so many businesses and so many, things that didn't work, but it's all brought me to this moment, and I can reframe my story and say, okay, I learned all of these things along the way. I gained all of these valuable skills, ability, wisdom, and now have this beautiful opportunities like being on your podcast to inspire other people, other entrepreneurs, other women at midlife, other women going through things to really do their best, be their best self. And I would say another thing too that's super important too is don't get engaged with the self-comparison game, the social we're always like looking at somebody else thinking that their lives are so much better than ours. And it's such a trap, especially with all of the social media, to look at social media and go, God, everybody's living this incredible lives but me. That's all BS. They're suffering and struggling too. They're just showing you like their best self. The only person to be in competition with is yourself. And that's a friendly kind of competition, to do your best every single day, to not care what other people think about you, to be grateful for all the amazing gifts in your life, and to just show compassion towards yourself and all beings, and see your business as this incredible opportunity to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. I think that's already challenge enough to like fight with yourself every single day. To be very honest with you, like, yeah, it's already challenge enough. But wow, that's so amazing. So Ellen, like, how can we learn more about your wisdom then?
Just Google the Midlife Whisperer. That's the Midlife Whisperer. I am the only midlife whisperer on the planet. I own the trademark for it. So you can connect with me there if you want to work with me. If you've got a question, a comment. I have a podcast called Rock Your Midlife. I have a book called Rock Your Midlife. I'm on Instagram as the Midlife Whisperer. I've got a Facebook group as well, but you can get all that information by just going to the Midlife Whisperer, and also have a free gift there, which is 10 tips to rock your midlife. And if you're not quite at midlife yet, if you don't identify with that time in your life, these 10 tips will still help you. It's really the encapsulated wisdom. So I encourage you to grab that. That'll get you on my mailing list so that you can get more nuggets of wisdom. And I would love to know what you are struggling with and how I can support you.
Thank you so much, Ellen, for joining Get Unstuck Radio today.
My pleasure.